lost mine in the sand. Where will you stand?
It is time for an Israel update with Hanok Young from Modi'in, Israel. And I love that video you put up about
Oh,
the
thank you.
Maccabees there. That was great, man.
Yeah, it's about a 35-40 minute walk from my apartment. And it's, kind of astounding to be in a spot where you could picture, little, Yehuda and Shimon, like running around and, wreaking havoc and people going, shh, shh, so to me, that's really cool.
Yeah.
The problem is it's right next to a road that there's always a lot of noise from the traffic.
Hmm.
That's called Chashmonaim, the Hasmoneans. So it's going this way. The road that goes, try this in English, perpendicular to it,
Crosses the road.
I just noticed is Shiftei Israel, the tribes of Israel.
Ah,
So I said, oh, that's so cute.
how neat.
Isn't that
Okay.
adorable?
Okay. Well, all right. What's going on? I know that you've got a
Wow.
lot of homework you've done on a popular politician here, but
Yeah.
start us
Well,
out here.
okay. So right now we're at let's just say, interesting phase.
Yeah.
Hezbollah is clearly rearming.
Hmm.
The Lebanese army has not disarmed them according to the terms of the American agreement. Hamas has not disarmed. No one's talking about disarming them. Um, they have not released the remains of the last hostage.
Yeah.
At the same time, there's confusion about this international stabilization force. And Secretary of State Marco Rubio said, well, we need to clarify what parameters they should be operating in. So
Okay.
my thinking is, and I'm not the world's most organized guy, I'm sorry, from the time you first announced this, no one has been tasked with come up with a list of responsibilities. And they're wondering, gee, why aren't they able to recruit nations that are willing to send troops or police forces or whatever? Because no one knows what they're supposed to do.
Hmm.
Clearly, they will not be disarming Hamas. Israel is the only one capable of disarming Hamas. And the problem is the giant puppet master in Washington, D.C. is, has all these, puppets, kind of bouncing around, but no one seemed to think of what's the second act. What do we do now?
Hmm.
At the same time, Iran is busy testing ballistic missiles. And as I hate to say, as I said it, it appears that all of the obliteration of the Iranian nuclear program that occurred in both the Israeli and American strikes wasn't nearly as severe as it appears.
Hmm. Imagine that.
And was it Gomer Pyle that said surprise,
Yeah.
surprise, surprise? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so there you have it. So all of this is percolating. Hanukkah was amazing. It is amazing that for 8 days, schools are closed and families are just the shuk Machane Yehuda was impossible.
Wow.
Every day was like a Friday early afternoon. Mobs of people. You couldn't. Okay. One of the secrets that I keep close to my heart is the three best bakeries in Jerusalem in the center of town. And when they have a velvet rope and a staff person keeping the line in order, and you know how we Israelis love lines,
Oh yeah, yeah, and
is
order.
it is so I couldn't get into any of the bakeries any of the days. Crazy stuff. Now, meanwhile, if what we've got going on, so of course Netanyahu is going to be traveling to Florida, and allegedly going to be presenting Trump with, a whole series of plans and whatever. You know, who knows?
Okay.
The big news, of course, was watching the that sort of conservative summit in America.
Yeah.
listening to
Turning
Ben
point. Yeah.
Shapiro okay. Now, there's so much I could say about that, but I'm not going to because it doesn't pertain directly to Israel,
Hmm.
except with my deep-seated concerns now for America's Vice President J.D. Vance, who has already been endorsed for the 2028 election by Turning Point USA.
Yeah.
And again, as I've shared with people, as much as I'm concerned for Israel, we could suffer, but we will survive. My deep-seated fear now is for America
Hmm.
because America is fighting for its very soul and doesn't even realize it. So you've got
Well put.
Vance,
Yeah.
um, and he said something, and I printed it out because it was one of those things where like I can't believe he said that. So he said that okay, I'm going to read this directly. 99% of Republicans, and I think probably 97% of Democrats, do not hate Jewish people for being Jewish. What is actually happening is that there is a real backlash to a consensus view in American foreign policy.
Huh?
Okay, let me pick this apart.
Yeah.
Someone told me the other day that they heard from someone else who knows me that I'm obsessed with statistics. I never thought that I was, but the more presenting and the more teaching that I do, I find that I need to have my percentages in line. Like, for instance, one of the things that I found very important to be totally accurate about is when people say, well, most Israelis are secular. They say most Israelis are secular. And that is actually not true. It's a, this is a great thing. It's a 20, this is an original Chanoch. Listen carefully, kids. It's a 20-60-20 proposition. 20% of our population is totally secular.
Hmm.
20% of the population, give or take 1 or 2 percentage points, is totally religious. And in between, everyone is traditional to one degree or another, whether it's the Friday night Shabbat dinner,
Hmm.
whether it's only eating kosher, whatever it might be. Okay. There has been no poll of either Republicans or Democrats about percentage of anti-Semitism. The polls
No.
that other people have done have shown that anti-Semitism, hate the term,
Yeah.
Jew hatred is far more widespread across America.
Hmm.
And if you don't believe me, listen to Tucker Carlson, listen to Candace Owens, listen to that cretin Nazi Nick Fuentes. I mean, it's unbelievable. So what Vance was talking about, I have no idea. And it's deeply concerning because he appears to be the future, at least of the Republican Party.
Hmm.
And if the Republicans don't win the next election, I think that America is going from the frying pan into the fire directly.
Yeah. I can.
I don't see anyone from the Democratic side. And it's interesting because we're not talking about Israel per se. We're talking about America. But if America does not stand with Israel, America doesn't have a chance. And the rise of jihadism in America is startling.
Yeah.
And I'll give you another example. I, as we've all been, have been deeply upset and troubled by what happened in Bondi Beach. And there was one thing that I was going to mention in our last Israel update, and I didn't. I chose, you know what, don't say it. So when it happens the way you think it will, Hanoch, you don't need people saying, "Oh, you said that." One of the things that I noticed right away is all of the attention was being focused on the Muslim Arab from Syria
Hmm.
who wrestled away the gun. Why he didn't then do anything with the gun, to this day, I watched that. Now, you'll also notice someone ran over to assist him. The guy happened to be Israeli,
Hmm.
and he has been severely wounded, but no one hears about him. You only hear about Ahmed. And millions of dollars have been raised, largely from Jewish people, for his medical care. What is the one thing that people aren't talking about? 15 Jews that were slaughtered on the beach.
Yeah.
All of us, everyone's talking about Ahmed and what he did, and truly amazing. Why, by the way, there were all these reports that he was a Maronite Christian from
Yeah.
Lebanon? I mean, really weird. But in the pit of my gut, I realized that the world is too uncomfortable about talking about innocent Jews that were slaughtered. They
True.
cannot devote the time to feel sympathy because and then you still have some wackadoodles around the world who are saying no, the shooter was really an Israeli and it's a false flag. And but here's another thing, and this is where I tie it back into America. So in New South Wales, you cannot say, you cannot use the expression anymore, globalize the intifada. Not across all of Australia, but in New South Wales.
Hmm.
At the same time, in England, that's now considered hate speech. However, the incoming mayor of New York City has refused to distance himself
Hmm.
from the expression globalize the
Hmm.
intifada. And it's barely more than a week from now that he's going to be the mayor.
Yeah.
And I think that's deeply, deeply concerning.
Well, let's go to the Turning Point conference.
Yes.
I didn't watch hardly any of it. The only speech that I saw that I listened to was Ben Shapiro,
Right.
and I personally think that it was Ben Shapiro's moment in time.
Yeah.
I listen to him occasionally. I don't listen to him a lot because he talks so fast. I can't keep up with him, and I have to be listening and doing something, and it just doesn't work. But he slowed down enough, and he was thoughtful. His presentation was amazing,
Agreed.
calling out firsthand those that were in the audience. Even Tucker Carlson, I thought took some guts, and it's going to be interesting to see what Turning Point USA does with Ben Shapiro in days to come because of this.
Right.
Now, on the other hand, JD Vance, I did not hear but just a couple of clips, but it sounded to me like, and you've researched this much more than I have, so please correct me. It sounded like JD Vance was actually siding or trying to defend Carlson and Owens and them to a certain point
Absolutely.
at the
Absolutely.
detriment of Ben Shapiro's message.
Without a doubt, he was trying to walk it back. He was trying to come up with this idea of, like not splintering the conservative movement. And in other words, what he's saying is you can be a Jew hater as long as your other conservative values are in line with us.
Hmm.
And I got
Yeah.
to tell you, it's feeling pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah, because look where we're going.
Yeah.
You have on one hand, I mean, who is in the Democratic Party that could be in 2028? Newsom. I mean, the list is,
It's
yeah,
pretty pathetic,
it's
I think.
totally pathetic. The
Yeah.
list on the Republican side, it's going to come down to this: where do they stand with Israel? This idea,
Yeah.
this thing that has been for a little over 2 years now, of where do you stand with Israel? Now that we have this so-called peace deal, ceasefire deal, whatever it is,
Time
non-deal,
out. Yeah.
yeah, a little bit of a timeout. Let's go get some popcorn and some a couple of hot dogs along the way. But where's it going? It's actually like in this quiet time, the push to choose a side has actually been increased.
Yeah, interesting. It's becoming readily apparent that you're either going to be here or you're going to
Hmm.
be there.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not like, well, kind of, sort of, maybe would have, should have, could have. And it's startling. And it's startling when, and again, gosh, it's like 2 weeks from now. It's my first presentation already in America. It's and Mike, I think you'll like this one in particular because it's much less visual aids and all data dumping.
Okay.
Data dumping in a good way. So how many years did it take me to listen to you? I mean, you know, eh,
Well, well, we
let me count the ways.
yeah. After the presentation, we'll find out if you
Yeah.
actually listening is if that's
Listen,
happened
yeah,
yet.
or
So
just
we'll
listen
see. Yeah.
partially.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because in looking at sort of people's ideas of what the end times or leading up to the end times, leading up to that juncture before the final redemption, and keeping in mind, of course, the different eschatology that we all have, there's an expectation that choices will have to be made. And what's startling is it's happening right before our eyes.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, so while all of this is going on, Trump demands that Israel foot most of the bill for cleaning up Gaza. This is when I started reviewing in my mind how to do CPR on myself because I was sure my little heart was going to stop. I mean, and of course, who do I talk to here in Israel? Taxi drivers. And they're saying anyone who would agree to anything like this has got to be thrown out of Israeli politics forever. And I'm thinking, everyone except Bibi. Meanwhile, guess what's resurrected? The $112 billion plan to make a high tech,
Mhm.
AI based Riviera Gaza. And I'm
Mhm.
thinking to myself, I really, there's a line in the movie Animal House. People remember that. It's like, I need to start drinking seriously. I need to find some serious drugs because I cannot, I read this stuff and it's, like we have a concept in the Jewish community called a Purim spiel. So for Purim, people write, some kind of, fantasy joke, spoof. The Daily News is just like that.
Mm.
Again, it's like Israel has got to pay what, how many tens of billions of, and where's that money going to come from? We're still wrestling with how are we going to finish paying 300,000 reservists?
So in that, I see that or at least the report was that a deal has been signed between Israel and Egypt for gas, for natural gas.
That's the next step. Now, here in Israel, there were a couple of opinion pieces of like, this is a new dawn of the relationship between Israel and Egypt. And I just want to remind everybody that Egypt was the first country for us to ever have a peace deal with. This is not the Abraham Accords. This is way before.
Hmm.
But it's what we call a cold peace. Egyptian tourists don't come to Israel. Israelis still go to Egypt, but heck,
Which
they'll
is
go.
the craziest thing to me.
If Iran said, yeah, Israelis, y'all can come in, they would go.
Yeah.
So that's really, really weird. But it took less than a day for Egypt to say, hey, this is strictly business. This has nothing to do with anything.
Mm.
So you've got that going on. On top of everything, you've got Turkey. And and people got to say, Hanoch, you warned us about Turkey when everyone was celebrating about Iran. Yeah. So Israel is working more and more closely with Greece and Crete.
Hmm.
Crete? Cyprus, excuse me.
Cyprus.
Forgot my little sea countries, which of course infuriates the Turks because until 1923 they considered part of Greece and part of Cyprus belonging to them, and to this day they occupy northern Cyprus. And the world, that was 50 years ago in the 70s. No
Hmm.
one talks about that. So all of this is going on, and meanwhile, of course, Netanyahu is finally saying there'll be, a board of inquiry, but he also wants to tie in the Oslo Accords and the disengagement. In other words, it's all the smoke and mirrors going on. Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. And we in Israel deserve something better.
Mm,
Really
no
do.
doubt. I find we walked through the whole thing since October 7 together on broadcast after broadcast. I find that since this so-called peace deal has been signed, it is much more tiring. It's much more, I don't even know exactly the wording for it, but it's like this constant limbo of nothing happening that you can see, but yet behind the scenes, this is, something is brewing there. It's just like, how long is it going to be before that proverbial next shoe drops?
It's interesting that you mentioned it because someone said the other day, it's like that period at the start of the Second World War. It was referred to as the phony war.
Hmm.
So here it is, the Nazis march into Poland, England and France declare war, and then there's a period before France is invaded where little to nothing was happening. And then, boom, the hammer's about to fall. And I just want to remind people that our friends and relatives are still being called up for the reserves.
Yeah.
This is still, and at the same time, you've got total confusion about what's going on in Syria, as if that wasn't enough. The Iranian influence in the Iraqi militias
Yeah.
has increased. Iran is somehow still getting $1 billion into Hezbollah in Lebanon. How this is all going on, we don't know. But, again, at least Netanyahu hasn't named a class of warships after himself. So, it's,
Uh,
what can I tell you, Mike?
I think he could have done pretty good with one of those lasers. It would have been okay.
Yeah, well, I think he's probably going to name any effective weapon after his wife Sarah. So,
Oh,
you know,
okay. Well, I guess that'll
he's the
work.
one that runs the country, so we don't know.
Okay. And there's the facts as we have it today, right?
Yeah, yeah. Clear as
Okay.
mud, boys and
Yeah,
girls, clear
no
as
doubt.
mud.
Well, the good news is, Hanok, we have one more program before 2026.
Yeah, and then we have to figure out dates of where I am and where I'm traveling, and
Yes,
you
we
know,
get to start playing the new board
yeah,
game, the new
where in the
revised
world is
edition.
Mr.
Where
Hanoch?
in the world is Hanok Young 2026?
Oh Lord, Lord. And what's funny though is I still get these notes from people. Hey, I hear tourism is back.
No.
People are coming. Not in the numbers that they were. The highest estimate I've heard of tourism now is that at 10%. But understand, Christmas, from what someone told me today, they wish me, have a wonderful Christmas. And I said, wait. And then I had to look it up. It's Thursday.
Yeah.
It's Thursday. Okay. Thank you for, have yourself a merry little Christmas. Okay. Um, then there's always in good years a dive down
Yeah.
because January and February are the worst weather in Israel. It's not impossible, but it's not pleasant. It can rain. We had flash floods in Netanya today. I mean, it's it's iffy. Um,
Hmm.
so we're talking about maybe, hopefully, possibly people beginning to come back in March, maybe. I don't know.
Time will tell.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
The,
listen, after the first of the year, shortly after that, hopefully people will be able to begin signing up for Connect. So
there you go. We're
Connect
working on
Digital
that. And
Experience.
are the dates on your website for when you're going to be here?
No,
Okay.
no, they will be, and I'll be posting on Facebook, and that because literally every other day locations are changing,
Okay.
which is let's just say a bit of a
A
challenge.
little challenge. Okay. Well, let us know. I've got down when you're going to be here on January
Yes.
24th,
Yep, we
and
know that.
I'm working on the other venue for here the next day. We
Great.
should have some information pretty soon on that. So,
Super duper. Thanks,
all
Mike.
right. Take care. Talk to you
Love
next
to
week.
everybody home.
Hmm.